Hey there, folks. Welcome to another OU Insider Post-Practice Blitz. Parker Thune, Brandon Drum. The controversy right now, and it's not much of a controversy in all actuality, but John Mateer's Venmo transactions have apparently made their way to the top of the news cycle. But in more tangible news, Brandon, local media did get to meet with Oklahoma's offensive line coach, Bill Bedenbaugh, yesterday for the first time in over 2 years. Not only that, they got to meet with two of the outstanding freshman offensive linemen at the University of Oklahoma that are expected to be cornerstones for that group in the years to come and potentially very soon. Those being, of course, Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje. And it was interesting. Bedenbaugh flat out said it, and I respect the candor and appreciate it. He said, look, Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje are going to play for us in 2025. They may not start, but they're going to play.
Yeah. I mean, he came out, he said, there was a lot of things that he threw out about them. But I thought the most pertinent part was where he said, you know me, I'm basically quoting him here. He said, I'm an honest dude. He said, we haven't had guys like them. And he talked about, they've been here for a long time and they haven't had two players like them. And what he meant by that, Parker, was they're not afraid of anything. He goes, Michael Fasusi will go up against R. Mason Thomas multiple times and get beat multiple times. And yet he walks back out there with the confidence that he's going to eventually beat R. Mason Thomas. And that's what he loves most about these guys. They're talented. Their upsides are huge. And on top of that, they're smart and fearless. And it's wild because he's had Orlando Brown, but Orlando Brown was a redshirt freshman when he played. He had Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey was a redshirt freshman. I think it's safe to say outside of, Anton Harrison, these two are different. Anton Harrison was probably the only other freshman that Bill Bedenbaugh's had where he's like, I'm throwing those dudes out there no matter what.
Fasusi and Foje, we've long known, and for anybody that followed their recruitments, Brandon, they're special specimens at the very least. Now, that doesn't always translate to a successful collegiate career. You got to buy in, got to work, got to improve, got to develop, especially under somebody like Bill Bedenbaugh. If you can't handle tough coaching, you're not going to crack it in Bill Bedenbaugh's room. There's just no two ways about it. But we've heard throughout fall camp that Foje, in particular, has taken some first-team reps, has started to really assert himself as a contender for a spot on the two deep. And Fasusi, man, I don't think there's any rush to play either of those guys because Foje is a guard and Oklahoma has good experienced depth at guard right now. Fasusi's a left tackle. Jacob Sexton presumably is going to anchor that position in 2025. And you have Logan Howland right there that made several starts for OU last year at left tackle as well that can handle that role if he needs to. But amidst all of that, and I think because of all of that, if you're mindful of the depth that is there, and you consider that alongside Bedenbaugh's assertion that one way or another, Fasusi and Foje are going to see the field for Oklahoma this fall, I think that speaks volumes for where they're at developmentally at this point. It almost, to me, I would almost consider them ahead of schedule. I think the expectation with 5 stars and high 4 stars is always that, those guys are going to get on the field in year one. But for offensive linemen, that's generally not the expectation and shouldn't be the expectation because it's a difficult and physically demanding position to play, especially in the SEC, and precious few guys do it. But the fact that Fasusi and Foje are guys that Bedenbaugh, a week and a half into fall camp, is willing to stick his neck out for and say, hey, these guys are going to help us in 2025, I consider them to be ahead of schedule based on those comments.
They're hugely ahead of schedule. And I mean, look, he said, I don't want to put expectations on these guys or set expectations on them, but he knew by saying what he said that the fan base was going to run with that and that they're going to expect the second anybody screws up. And I think that's what he was probably leading to more than anything else. And you talked about the experience in front of them, Parker. That experience now has a lot of pressure on them to play and play well because Bedenbaugh's come out there and said, These guys can play. And if anybody screws up, you're instantly going to feel the pressure. If you're Bill Bedenbaugh, if you're Brent Venables, if you're Ben Arbuckle, why aren't you playing the freshmen? Whether right or wrong, I'd probably say wrong, because I think you're asking them to come in a conference that, and if the Jacob Sextons of the world, the Derek Simmons of the world, the Fabici Wewus or the Eddie Pierre Louise of the world can't, or struggling against certain, you wouldn't expect first year freshmen at 17, 18 years old to be able to do any better, right? Like that wouldn't be the expectation. But unfortunately, with what was said, it now is the expectation that they're going to come in and be able to play and play very, very well. So, look, like you said, they're ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing. But we're still only, what, 12 days into fall camp, essentially 13 days, 14 days into fall camp. So there is a lot to sift out. He also spoke very, very highly of Jacob Sexton. He spoke very, very highly of Troy Everett. He spoke very, very highly of Fabici Wewu, right? I think you look at all those guys, and those are the true leaders. As a matter of fact, he talked about Troy Everett, Parker. Said Troy Everett was the unquestionable leader. Did that surprise you that he said the unquestioned leader with Troy Everett,
No,
knowing
not
that you
really.
have a Fabici Wewu and a Jake Sexton in there?
Not really. I mean, Troy Everett's leadership is the one thing that pretty much everybody in the program that's been asked in any sense, directly or indirectly, I should say, about Troy Everett has brought up is the guy is a tremendous leader and he's very well respected in that locker room. So he also plays the center position, which in so many ways is the fulcrum of the offensive line. And so it's not shocking that Bill Bedenbaugh would issue a comment like that. No, and I think it's also interesting to consider, and I brought this up yesterday on the radio, Brandon, just to think, to conceptualize how far Oklahoma has come on the offensive line since the end of the 2024 season. There are 5 starting offensive linemen in the Alabama game, i.e. the game that Oklahoma won 24-3 over a college football playoff contender on their home field. Troy Everett and Fabici Wewu. Okay, those guys are coming back. Incumbents, they should start week 1 of 2025. The other 3, Logan Howland, Heath Ozida, and Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown is obviously no longer with the program.
Your favorite player of all time, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt. And Logan Howland and Heath Ozida are probably second teamers right now. Best case scenario, second teamers going into the season. So the transformation that Oklahoma has undergone on the offensive line this offseason, again, just makes it all the more impressive that we're having this conversation about Fasusi and Foje potentially seeing run right off the bat for an Oklahoma offensive line group that is much healthier and looks to be much more talented than they were a year ago.
Way more talented. I think that's the wild part about it. I was talking to somebody deep within the throes of the Switzer Center just the other day, and I said, do you guys look at what happened last year as kind of that was awful, but thank goodness it happened, because now the experience that you have at the offensive line, the depth that you have, and their exact quote to me was, that sucked for everybody involved, but in the long run, it is going to pay dividends, and it feels like it already has during fall camp. So, I mean, we talked about it last year, Parker. Everything that was happening with the offensive line, fans, this sucks. But you're seeing the belief in what Bill Bedenbaugh has in this offensive line this year. I did want to bring up the fact that a reporter quickly started off asking about last year, and Bill Bedenbaugh shot that down so quickly and so ferociously.
Complete flush.
I am not talking about last year.
Which is exactly how it's got to be.
Period.
Man. Exactly how it's got to be. I mean, everything that happens on the football field for Oklahoma in 2025 has to be done and executed in a way that is in no way whatsoever mindful of what occurred in 2024. You
For
have to
sure.
completely flush that season as a program. And so
Yeah.
Bill Bedenbaugh is the perfect guy to do it, but I just love the bluntness there. Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about last year at all.
And he was like, and it was almost like he gave the dude daggers. And so like nope, nope. And he wasn't being mean. It was just like, I am
No,
not going there.
that's
So,
just Bill.
yep.
That's
It
just
was
Bill, folks.
Bill. Hey, so look, people are gonna want us to talk about this whole John Mateer thing before we get off here, but thoughts real quickly on
I
it.
have no thought. It's a nothing burger. It's a complete nothing burger. It's not worth talking about. It's very
Fair enough.
obviously an inside joke in Venmo transactions, which we all have engaged in, those of us that use Venmo.
100%.
Uh,
Yep.
some
Now
rando,
people are gonna go search our Venmos, by the way.
mine are private for this
Mine are
exact
too.
reason. Like,
Yeah.
again, the lesson here is if you're John Mateer and you have a modicum of celebrity status whatsoever, just keep your Venmo transactions private so some college student with a burner account isn't sifting through them to try and stir up a controversy at some point. That's the only takeaway here.
Did
It's a
did you
nothing
see
burger.
did you see the guy that came out and said that that was him and that he was we just chose random guys that random college football players that were nobodies back then. It was a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds, blah, blah, blah. But he was doing it for publicity. Obviously, it's not true. And if it is true, that is one of the most wild things I've ever seen. But right in line with anything college football nowadays. So, yeah, I agree. Nothing burger. It could have very well been paying for, Buffalo Wild Wings while they watched the game that day or whatever, and say sports gambling. And I'm just throwing out things. Obviously, I don't know what it is one way or the other. I'm just saying it's just wild how people, you know what I mean? And by the way, who goes back 3 years in somebody's Venmo timeline?
Brandon, some people have a lot of time on their hands. Okay. A lot of time on their hands.
Very fair.
Too much time on their hands.
Very fair.
And with that, folks,
Yep.
we will let all of you get back to your days and we will get back to ours because
Big day today,
it
potentially.
is a potentially big day today for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail. And so we're going to go get tapped in with sources on that particular matter and await the decision from four-star defensive end Jake Krell out of IMG Academy, which, who knows, by the time this video hits YouTube, maybe he will have announced. It's supposed to be sometime on the Pat McAfee show later today. So we'll see. Folks, that's it for another post-practice blitz. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.